is the Vintage RPG Podcast, your source for the best in classic and contemporary RPGs. With your hosts, Hambone and Stu.
Welcome to Vintage RPG Podcast, coming at you again from the clubhouse in somewhere in the swamps of New Jersey. I'm John Hambone McGuire, and with me, as always, is the founder and publisher of Unwinnable. He used to make mixtapes, now he makes playlists. Stu Horvath.
Oh man, I haven't actually waded into making a real playlist in a long time. I should do that. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, your New Year's Eve playlist was always impeccable. Like the Slade version of Come On Feel the Noise always hit at exactly the right time of the night. You know, the playlist you made for Geek Fleet is good. So
yeah, I forgot about Geek Fleet. I do one for Geek Fleet. You know, now that I go to a radio station periodically, and most of the radio station is arranged around playing music, all fantasies of being a music DJ have fled my body.
Yeah.
Dude, those folks play 3 hours of music every week, and it's almost always different stuff. Like they're constantly digging in. Like I feel like there's levels to it, right? It's like my dad just listened to 101.1, which was like oldies, and like I don't think that he even really cared about music. And like there's people who passively just like, oh, this is the music that I that's on the radio and I'll listen to that. And then there's people like me who dig. I love digging. I love finding new music. But then there's people who have shows on WFMU and they just are like, they're freaking excavators.
Oh yeah.
And I think it makes them weird over time, because I think that like a lot of the, if you know, there's like a 50-50 shot that when you tune to WFMU, you're just going to hear somebody screaming, or like one long bass note, like the weird stuff. And I think that is a symptom maybe of years and years of lifestyle of excavating music. I think that you just get stranger and stranger about what you like.
It's got to be the same like working in a record store for a long time, because I mean, you know, you and I both worked in that record store, and whenever anyone hears that I worked at a record store, like, oh my God, that must have been amazing, because in their brain they see Empire Records.
Yeah.
We were far from Empire Records, but I think that's like the thing, like, you know, when people think like you have like the coolest job in the world, it really does, like, you know, for people who actually do the job, it kind of like tests your mettle, because it's like, it's a job. Like at the end of the day, it's still a job, and you really get to see how cool or uncool that job is by actually doing that job.
You know, hold on. It's interesting. Yesterday I read through all the stories for the new Unwinnable Monthly, and one of the stories is exactly this. Like I was reading it yesterday and I was like, this is so true. And I'm going to read it to you right now, because like, a sneak peek of the February issue of Unwinnable, which will probably be out by next week. When this, no, you'll be able to read this hear this before you read it in the pages of my magazine. Okay, so this is by Natasha Oxshorn, and that's the first time I've ever said her last name out loud. I've only ever read it, so hopefully I wrote that.
Felt good. Feels good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's right, but if I got it wrong, I apologize. So this is all the first paragraph of her essay. I don't want to get into Legends and Lattes too much, because others have already done it pretty well. But suffice it to say that I found it to be the shop local of novels, not to be the I don't dream about labor tweet, which is linked. So you'll have to get the full experience when the issue comes out. But the idealized retail space is never going to be that moving to me. I am not a preteen watching Empire Records. High Fidelity, on the other hand, ... I like locality. It's important to me, but it's just that idea. And then she goes on into this idea of like, it's just like, it's a business. You know, I like the most perfect coffee shop is still just a frickin' coffee shop, and you're steaming milk all day.
Yeah.
Like, people want to be like own a bookstore, and it's like the book trade is horrible.
Yeah.
It's just everybody in the book trade is an idiot. I'm sorry if you're in the book trade, but you probably have some sort of book trade inflicted brain damage.
Yeah, I mean, like TV makes a lot of things look good, movies too. And listen, I'll be real with you. April 8th, Rex Manning Day. I know it. I love it. I'm happy that day. But yeah, I mean, no one was breaking out a song in our record store. The closest we hear is Junior.
Yeah. But here, let me do the rest of the paragraph. I like locality; it's important to me. But the more friends you have working in the small local businesses of your area, the harder it is to take seriously as a politic. My issue with Amazon isn't that it's vibeless, although it is. It's that it's environmentally disastrous business model that sells you scam items by exploiting precarious workers. I do not care if a business is small, if there are no worker protections. I do not care if a business is local, if they use a pandemic as coverage to lay off unionized employees. Local can mean years of institutional knowledge and community, but at least where I live in Brooklyn, it frequently means former financiers chasing a feeling at the expense of the workers they don't know how to manage.
Yep.
And I just thought that was great. And it goes on. It's a really great piece. I really enjoy Natasha's work, and she's a great part of the crew. But yeah, this is a role play game podcast, right?
Yeah. I mean, it all ties in. Okay, so we wanted to, you and I were talking this morning. We had a few things we both wanted to talk about quick, but one thing I want to mention, if I can, is I got
no. You can't mention things.
I know. So I really like going to conventions. I do, as much as I seem like I don't like to leave my house, which I don't like to leave my house that much. But but what I do, I get real pumped to leave my house. I like going to conventions. I like meeting people. And I met a person named Amanda P. at PAX Unplugged, and they were like, "Hey, you have a thing about the Pine Barrens? I have like zines that are kind of inspired by the Pine Barrens." Because Devil in New Jersey for 320 RPG takes place in the Pine Barrens. So like, hey, can I send you something? I was like, yeah, sure. And I forgot about it for a while, but a little while ago, like in late January, I got a box from Space Penguin Inc. And I was like, did I black out and order a bunch of shit I don't remember? I was like, I don't know, but they sent me these zines. One's called Tannic, the other's called Orestruck. Both are for use with Karen. How do you say it?
Karen.
For both for use with Karen.
I own Tannic.
Oh, you do? Okay,
yeah.
So cool. Yeah, Orestruck is the one I want to mention today. Both are awesome, and both are awesome for different reasons. But the Orestruck is, first off, the cover is really awesome. I really do enjoy the cover of it. It's very dark and evocative with the guy in the middle is, with that little twinge rainbow around him as he's they're trying to escape whatever they're getting themselves into. But the pitch is an ossified horror, murders and friends, terrorizing miners in an ancient cavern. A warrior and his vicious gang hunt a privateer rumored to have returned home. The dreamers hunger for a bloody return to forgotten rituals. And I pop this thing open, and right off the bat, you see a map on the inside cover. It is so well laid out, and the real cool thing about this is, as a publisher and as a person who tries to tell people all the time, like, hey, you don't need AI, you can do things yourself, you can find ways to do it. It was made with the help of the classic Explorer template by Explorers Design. So there is a template for how this thing was laid out, and it's laid out beautifully. And even better than that, the writing is absolutely fantastic. Everything is so tight in here. In the margins on a lot of pages, there's information about things that you're encountering that folds into the section that you're encountering it in. For instance, Count Cecilia's pavilion. It talks about how Count Cecilia sits among fine goods and luxurious textiles. The tent interior takes up with camping style beds and a small mahogany table covered in papers. And it gives you some bullet points, but then on the side, it gives you a little extra flavor for if you're encountering those bullet points, like what is going to happen. And there's this one thing in here. I'm trying to find the page that it's on, but there's this one sentence that hit me like a train, and the gist of it is, and the part that got me was voice like tectonic plates grinding. And I was like, oh man, you rarely see stuff like that in RPGs where people go that deep into a description, but they knock out everything in perfect sentences throughout this zine. It made me want to play Karen. Is it Karen? Karen. And actually, I'm going to run this at some point because It is such a glorious and easy to run experience. Like I flipped through it, you pretty much get the gist of it. Some cool maps in here, not a ton of art, but there is such a vibe with the art that is peppered throughout the book. Some things are really beautiful in the borders. I can't recommend this enough, and I'm really, really glad I got it. So, Amanda P., thank you for sending this to me. I mentioned I was going to mention it on the show, but it's on my desk. I keep going back to it. I keep reading over it. But Struck by Amanda P. at Space Penguin Inc. Holy crap! What a perfect little RPG zine.
Yeah, I really enjoy Karen. I think that it's a beautiful streamlined light system for short bursts of old school play. I think that it's my go-to for if I were to run one shot D&D like experiences. I would go with Karen. I think it's really good that way.
It looks absolutely perfect for it. And the more I read it, the more I was like, I've seen people go overboard with like sword and fantasy experience. I've seen people completely underwhelm. Like this is the porridge that's just right. And I'm really pleased as punch with it. It's one of my, my favorite zines. I think it came out last year. It's one of my favorite zines that I've experienced so far this year. So
yeah. I also have to say that that sentence you highlighted reminded me of what a music critic called The Sound of Killing Joke, one of my favorite punk rock weirdo bands. They described their sound as the sound of the earth vomiting.
Oh, what a perfect description.
Yeah, which is pretty great. So while you were telling me about that, there was a pause that our listeners aren't going to hear because Alex is going to cut it out because we're looking for stuff. So while you were shuffling papers and stuff, I was looking at my email, and I got a tracking thing. I found a miniature that I've been looking for.
Oh, nice.
And but it's in Europe, and I was just like, well, man, like if I buy this thing, is it going to be like twice that in tariffs? So it made it through. It was FedEx to me, which was more money than I wanted to pay. Well, no, actually, it was about $30 shipping, which is like, that's what shipping from Europe is right now. It's crazy, but that's like, it wasn't like they raked me over the coals, but it made it through customs and is in Newark, and I'm going to get it tomorrow. But there's no indication whether or not duties are required. So I'm just I'm like, I don't know. There's like, it doesn't say that duties aren't required. Like, it would be nice if it was just like no duties or like duties or any kind of indication that it, but it says it's going to arrive tomorrow. But I just feel like I played Russian roulette. I finally, after a year of this stupidity, was just like, there's something like, I know that books and records are exempt, so I haven't really been sweating that. But like miniatures, they're not exempt probably from one of these things. I can't keep up with it. I'm not
who fucking knows, man? At this
not an import-export guy, but like, so if in Vintage RPG Land, if you hear a scream in the psychic ether tomorrow afternoon, it's because I had to write a check to FedEx for $20 or something.
Yeah, but it's gonna be so sweet when you're sitting down in your little mini paint spot, painting that sweet ass mini, and you got to keep reminding yourself with every stroke, it's worth it.
Yeah, well, the thing is that, and this is sort of like one of those like deeply self-indulgent things. I found this miniature. Somebody has the rights or is bootlegging it, I don't know, as a resin print, but it's an old school miniature, and I just don't like painting on plastic. So I found a metal version of the same thing that's vintage, and I was just, and hey, vintage RPG, it's in the name.
It's in the name.
And like I guess I constantly preface things with being like, I don't think that old stuff is better, but old stuff sometimes better. The sculpt quality is better. The quality of the metal. There's a lot of reasons why you want old miniatures. If you're into old miniatures, like if you're into like the new school, like highly detailed resin stuff, like that's like a whole different thing. But like I was fascinated by Grenadier and Ralpartha, so I want those. And then the modern versions of those are inferior to the older versions of those. It's just a fact. So yeah. But so I'm really excited about that. He's a big doofy troll, and I'm going to paint him right away. So you'll see that somewhere soon, sooner than the those tray puzzles we talked about last week. I did start putting together the 2027 list of things to post about. Usually that doesn't happen until the summer. I don't start thinking about that until like August. But I have 2 books that I'm writing this year.
Yeah, you are.
And I have a 10,000 word essay that I promised somebody. And those things make me really, really worried that I'm going to be able to write 60,000 words or however many words of posts during the course of the year. I mean, I should be able to.
I believe in you, buddy.
The one book is 35,000 words. The other book is about 25,000 words. And then 60,000 words for posts on top of it is still less than the monster book. So I think that I can do all of that in 1 year, but we'll see.
Yeah, man.
But I'm thinking instead of doing it all in one go, maybe like do it like, okay, this week I'm going to do a month of posts, and next, I'll do it that way.
Yeah.
Kind of like, but I think I'm not certain. One of the reasons why it doesn't happen most times until summer is because it's too cold in the clubhouse to go and hang out in the loft and pick through stuff.
This year especially, man, it's been nuts.
Oh, dude, like the fact that like yesterday it was like 39 degrees and I was like, I could wear a denim jacket and just stand in the sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've gotten so used to single digit weather. It's terrible. Why it shouldn't happen like that. But yeah, so it's usually too cold for me to kind of really do the logistics side of a year's worth of posts this early. But I think every year I do like a light theme, and I think that the next theme is going to be toys because I still have a whole lot of toys.
Yeah, you do.
To post about. And the next book that I want to write for me is the toy book. So it makes sense to take photos of all those toys that I'm going to have to take. It's like doing pre-work for the next book.
Gotta get yourself a heater.
Yeah.
Oh man. So question for you, because it came up the other day for me, because my doctor, when I went there, she's like, you need to walk an hour a day. And I was like, every day? And she's like, every day. After being sick, I had to go back to the doctor. My chest was still a mess. And, she's like, well, it would be good for you. So I was like, okay. So I got to walk an hour a day. I have a treadmill in my office next to my desk that has been collecting dust for a very long time. Thankfully, I didn't use it as a closet, but, it's dusty. So I dusted it off. I've been watching an hour of a movie every day. So I usually break up a movie into 2 hours, right? The first one I watched, and I want to know, how long has it been since you've seen Highlander?
Probably the 90s. Right around the time I saw Highlander 2 in theaters, I would bet.
All right. Let me tell you, this movie is a batshit movie.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's one of those things like I remember it. I remember most of it, but I don't remember all of it. So I put it on the treadmill. First and foremost, I want to say Queen should have done so many more full soundtracks for movies. Because from A to B, the soundtrack is an absolute banger. It's perfect in every way. And it's the only thing that makes complete sense to the entire movie. And like the things that like stood out to me is like it starts off at like a wrestling match where the Fabulous Freebirds are like wrestling and friggin' Conor McLeod just sitting there watching wrestling, and then breaks out into a sword fight. And then like it just keeps going into all these like different things, like flashing back and forth to Scotland and like Kurgan and things that are happening. And I'm thinking to myself, like, imagine, now, right, when you watch a movie trailer, you pretty much see the entire movie, right? You pretty much know everything that's going to happen. You kind of even know ahead of time who's going to die and whatever. But then imagine like going to see, you see a trailer for Highlander in the 80s, because Highlander came out in 1986. And like you hear the awesome Queen music. You see like shots of Scotland. You see like sword fights and this and that. And you're like, oh, it's like a time travel story. Maybe it's this, maybe it's something else. And then you get to the first 10 minutes of Highlander and you're like, what the actual fuck am I watching? But I will say it was awesome. It was awesome, and I'm glad I did it for like 2 reasons. One, obviously Clancy Brown as Kurgan, just chewing scenery. Just like such a amazing villain, just a testament to Clancy Brown and how Clancy Brown is like awesome in everything,
Great costuming too.
Oh, great costuming. And the second is it reminds me how kind of wild Sean Connery was, because like, Sean Connery plays a character, called, that is referred to as Ramirez, but we'll tell you that his name was Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, an ancient immortal born in Egypt under the name Tacne, but having lived for 2,000 years, adopts a Spanish identity, serving as a chief metallurgist to King Charles of Spain, right? But shows up, has a Scottish accent.
Of course.
And it's like, I can imagine the director being on set, being like, hey, or the, casting, be like, hey, so Sean Connery, what's your Spanish accent like? And he was like, no.
But I mean, the guy that they cast to be the Scottish guy is French.
I know. It's amazing. Yeah. It's absolutely it's brilliant, but yeah, great sword fights, great boss fights. If you haven't seen Highlander in a while, if you've never seen Highlander, it's a must watch. If you like, especially with the kind of stuff that we're into and the kind of stuff we're always talking about with RPGs and like, old movies that really like tie into like RPGs. Like this one's like on the list of movies you must see. And when it doesn't make sense, just go with it. Like a vigilante just shows up out of nowhere just to like gun down Kurgan. Like it's so weird. It's such a weird movie where so much stuff doesn't get explained or gets explained with like an off the cuff sentence. Like you're supposed to just get it and go with it. But yeah, dude, I was watching Highlander the other day while I was on the treadmill, and so far over the last like week or so, I've watched Highlander, I've watched Zootopia 2, which also, if you have not seen Zootopia 2, I think it's my movie of the year last year. It's so well written. I started watching Missing in Action the other day, like just weird stuff. But yeah, also if you're an older gentleman like me, walk more. Apparently, it's good for you.
Highlander. I like Highlander too. I know that blows up my crew.
Oh, dude, I love Highlander 2. That was the first one I ever saw, was Highlander 2.
So, and it a lot of people are like, no, Highlander 2 is a horrible movie. And it's because like, yeah, they're from space or whatever. It's like, did you watch the first movie that is like incredibly weird? It doesn't make sense. But I think that Highlander 2 is great. I think that Michael Ironside in that movie is absolutely can't take my eyes off the man.
Love it.
Just a performance for the ages. And a lot like the Porcupine Brothers or whatever those guys were. Like there's so much good stuff in that movie that if you get hung up on the alien stuff, like you're missing out. There's like great like bad cyberpunk stuff and like I don't know. I think that it's a fantastically dumb movie. But the part of the problem, I think, much like advertising, I think that we've gotten too good at movies. I think that like there's just like a level of polish that gets dumped into movies now that it prevents something like Highlander from becoming a thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, you just don't get movies like Highlander anymore that are just like full of cool stuff but like borderline incomprehensible. Like I think that I think it's a language that's getting lost.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And like a lot of things are becoming a lost art form, and we need to bring it back. But
I think it's like it's just like an over streamlining, and it buffs out all like the weird stuff. You could do that to Highlander, and if they ever remake it, I think they might be remaking it.
They are.
It'll probably be like a lot smoother and make a lot more sense. But like I like it when it's weird. I like it weird.
I love it weird. I mean, weird is the way for me. But yes, Highlander is being remade. Henry Cavill is going to be McLeod.
Batista, all right, it's the same island he's from, at least.
Yeah. Batista is going to be Kurgan.
All right, like I like that guy a lot. I think that he is one of our underappreciated blockbuster guys.
Oh, 100%.
I think about his performance in Blade Runner 2049 more than anything. There's two things about or 47, whatever it was, the Villeneuve Blade Runner sequel. There's two things I think about very regularly about that movie. One is his performance in it and his little glasses and the way he puts them on. There's something about that scene that is just like, it's so incredibly humanizing, and like the whole rest of the movie I feel like is built on him being like this huge dude who just wants to like be like the farm guy, and like the subversion, because like he's like a huge dude and a robot, but he's also like a small peaceful man. in a lot of ways, and it's just like that. All that stuff is just in his performance, and it's fantastic. The other thing that I think about is that noise that is in the soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
I think about that a lot. But no, he's great. He's great in Dune as like a horrible character. All right, even if I'm on board for the Highlander remake. I think.
All right, well, I'm going to say one more thing, and let me know if you're still on board for it. Russell Crowe plays Ramirez.
Oh, I'm so in now.
I know, right?
Master and Commander is one of my favorite movies. So as much as like Russell Crowe, I feel like he's a complicated fella, but I mean, makes some bad movies. I tend to enjoy his performances, and maybe inspired casting if you want to replace somebody like Sean Connery, who is also a complicated complicated fave. What is that? What the kids call it?
I don't even know anymore, man. Everyone's complicated.
Problematic fave. There you go.
Problematic, yeah. And listen, I'll take problematic over being on the Epstein list every day and twice on Sunday. So,
yeah, fair enough. Speaking of politics,
oh no,
yeah, I got a whole bunch of Delta Green floppies in the mail over the last few weeks.
Oh, sweet.
And they're great. I love Delta Green. I will never not love Delta Green. These are all in support of The Conspiracy. They're from The Conspiracy Kickstarter, which was the modernization of the original 90s era Delta Green material.
Oh, wow.
And it's great. The hardcover core book, which is like the core lore book, and I think that they restate the rule system in there, but maybe not. It's been a while since I read it. It's fantastic. It really takes everything from the 90s, like your sort of supernatural or pseudoscience conspiracy theories, plus like just everything it's just interesting how it's a grand unified theory of conspiracy in the 90s. Like everything's in there and everything has like kind of supernatural explanation, and all of it's really just interesting to me. I just love the way that they do it and the way that they present it in just like little bits and bops, and you don't have to use all of it. Like it all works together if you do start using more of it, but you can just hone in on one thing and make that your thing. And the floppies that have come out have been pretty great. Some of them suffer a little bit from the 90s edginess, but I've been reading the Funky from Yugoth ones. It's so brilliant. The idea with that plot thread, like huge spoilers, is that the Mygo had been on Earth for centuries doing their weird mining. And in the 40s, they saw World War II happen, and they're like, no, we got to get out of here. They're sort of like a intelligent fungus species, interstellar fungus, that have sort of crustacean characteristics. They're weird. And they're like science sorcerers. And so they leave in the 40s because they're just like, humans are just too focaccia for us. We got to get out of here.
We do tend to complicate things.
Yeah, they got nukes now. Let's go. And they observe from a distance. And then they decide, well, we got to get back into the mix. And they create these simulacra and stick them in a UFO and crash it in Roswell.
Oh, nice.
So the Greys make contact through that with an organization in the United States government called Majestic. Majestic is part of like the actual real world, like quotes in real world, but it's part of our UFO lore in the mundane world. There's a lot of I do believe that Majestic at one point actually existed, and people have extrapolated that to be like the part of the government that's really interested in the secrecy. Like they're the ones that dealt with Roswell and bring the UFO parts to Area 51 and manage Area 51, that sort of stuff. Majestic 12, also known as MJ12. But the idea is that the fungi from Yugoth, the Greys are just these weird robots that are remote piloted by the fungi from Yugoth to manipulate human governments into doing what they want in exchange for quote unquote alien technology that doesn't actually work. It only works while the fungi allow it to work. So it's like this really big con that they're inflicting on a segment of the U.S. government intelligence apparatus. It's such a good conceit. And it's great. And so these stories, these couple scenarios are the ones that sort of peel the lid off that and give the investigators the way to kind of unravel the idea that the Greys are not an actual alien race, that they're puppets having their strings pulled by something even worse that doesn't want to be seen by humanity. And it's great. They are effectively X-Files episodes. They're not even like I think that the best X-Files episodes are the one-shots, the Monster of the Week ones. I don't really like the mythology episodes, especially after a certain point. But these Delta Green scenarios are basically the mythology episodes of the X-Files done really well and with the volume just turned all the way to 11. And they're fantastic. But they were a little bit more fantastic 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know, right? Shit.
One of the conceits of Delta Green is that you're playing government federal law enforcement operatives.
Yeah.
And while the basic assumption is that pitting feds against, cosmic horrors is pitting feds against something that they are incapable of dealing with effectively, no matter how big their guns or their pool of resources, right?
You're like, but I don't want to root for the man.
But it's interesting because you're throwing the man against something that's going to destroy him.
Yeah.
But Delta Green also assumes a baseline of competency that right now in this moment of time, competency and maybe like a little bit of just like genuine
concern,
just a little bit of like base humanity.
Yeah.
Right now, current events sort of cut against that, and make the barrier, the suspension of disbelief for me is a little bit diminished, especially when dealing with this one. I just read New Age, which is just sort of like, it's one of the big set piece things where it's just like, there's like, you have to have like a certain amount of faith in what you're doing. And I just don't have that faith at the moment. I've just started reading Owl's Head Mountain, which is also about the MyGo, but it's also like it's not involving like a whole bunch of government apparatus clashing. It's just like some people disappear and some feds go investigate it, and that becomes just like a regular cop drama investigation thing with horror elements to me. Like, it's interesting, and I tend to like the Delta Green mythology stuff more, because I like how it hooks into that conspiracy theory stuff. But as of this moment in time, I'm much more interested in their Monster of the Week episodes.
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, at this point, in the year of our Lord, Dark Lord, and or whatever you do or do not get down with or subscribe to, I definitely have a lot more like faith and belief in like fungi from the far realms of outer space than I do the man. Their capability of like getting anything done properly and humanely.
Yeah. And I don't want to make that's no shade on the creators. I think that they do a really good job of like working with this material, and it's always thought provoking. Some of the modern stuff is a little bit different in that I find that it's much more interested in finding and interrogating political angles that are really pushed to their limits by horror elements, and thus make you question, your assumptions about stuff. I would never run. They have a whole bunch of scenarios that are set in the conflicts in the Middle East. There's several Afghanistan ones, and one whole campaign set in Iraq with ISIS. I would never run those because like I just don't like I don't want to deal with that at my table.
Yeah.
Or like work around that or really think about that stuff in the context of role playing. But just as reads alone, I think that they were extremely nuanced and interesting and well done. I don't want to like, there is sort of a problem with the 90s stuff is that it's from the 90s, and like you can't control how the world has changed in 20 years and recontextualize stuff. I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with these scenarios is what I'm trying to say. It's just that like right now it's just like, oh man, like I love reading Delta Green stuff, but like maybe I should put aside the 90s stuff and finally read God's Teeth, which is the book that seems so scary that I don't want to read it. You know, like maybe this is the time for that. Because it deals with like, I don't know, weird a castration cult and oh yeah, no, it's a lot, dude. You just look up the cover of that book and it's just like, ooh, like I bought it because I buy all the Delta Green stuff, and I was just like, when it got here and have it, I used to have books that I didn't, and our friend Sean has this too, where like when we were kids, we would have like a book cover that was so scary that we would just keep it face down, or had a page inside the book where you had to go buy it real fast. I'm an adult in my 40s, and God's Teeth is a book that needs to be kept face down on my table because I don't like the cover. It bothers me on that level of just like that when I was a kid, where it's just like if I look at that too long, the picture's going to move and maybe that person's going to climb out of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Don't like it. I don't like it at all. Yeah. And I'm looking at that cover now and I cannot see that. So
it's awful. It's awful.
It's burned into my retinas, and I'm glad I'm seeing it at like when we're recording this at 10:44 in the morning versus when I go to bed at night. Otherwise, I'd have really scary dreams.
And you're not looking at it in a lot of detail. Like if you stare at it for a while, you'll find more things to hate about it.
I don't want to. I genuinely I have the chills just looking at it. Yeah. And I think that's a good time for us to go home. Before we do, though, a few projects I want to mention. It is Zine Month, Zemo, whatever they're calling it these days. Some cool projects for people to check out. Hambone's crowdfunding corner. Real quick, first up is Ground to Dust, done by Vampire Cinema. It's a pretty cool solo RPG. It's called A Meditation on Sacrifice and Solo RPG. It's fully funded, Ground to Dust. Runs off of D6s. You're going to have people like Joey Royale writing a little piece for it as well as a stretch goal. And I really like it. It's got some cool scenario generators to it, environmental tables, and it's something I think is kind of cool. You know, the more I play and get into RPGs, the idea of instead of like doom scrolling, playing a solo RPG and having a cool experience that'll kind of keep your brain sharp and your dice hand rolling strong. But it's for Zenetopia. It's over on BackerKit. That's the word I was looking for, was Zenetopia. And I'm pretty stoked. I'm pretty stoked for Vampire Cinema. They make really cool stuff. First stretch goal has been unlocked, and more to come. So definitely check it out. It definitely looks very dark. It looks very kind of like spooky, like if you're into things that look like Shadow Dark. It's definitely got like a Shadow Dark vibe to it, but as a game that you can play for yourself and with yourself. So I think that's pretty cool. So Ground to Dust over on BackerKit. Our friend Zog, Return to Crater Valley, Secrets of the Mask is coming to Kickstarter very soon, and it is the sequel to Blackout and Crater Valley, one of my absolute favorite DCC products ever put out. It's cool. It's modern. It takes place in the 80s. This one is going to take place in the 90s. It's a VHS era slasher adventure powered by the DCC role-playing game system. If you check it out over on the Kickstarter, where you should pre-save it for when it launches, there's some very cool art on there, some real cool vibes to check out. Something I think will be up most of our listeners' alleys. Return to Crater Valley, Secrets of the Mask on Kickstarter coming soon. And then finally, Tales from the Tape Deck, a music-focused TTRPG from our friend Yamil, who we've had on the show before, talking about When the Sky Comes Looking for You, and Ahmed Safdie from Safdie Games. It's a pretty cool concept. It's a role-playing game that fits in a cassette case. Each volume is a new setting with character options and rules. It's a pickup game. It means the rules are easy to learn, portable, and it's meant for spontaneous games, which is something great to play at cons, great to play as a pickup when you're just kind of hanging out with friends and family and you don't know what to do on a night that ends in the letter Y. But it's inspired by music playlists. Each tape is inspired by music playlists from specific genres, and each tape is linked to a QR code. So you could access these playlists on major streaming platforms, and they inspire the theme, builds atmosphere, and raise the tension of the adventures. So it launches on February 24th. It's going to be super cool. I chatted with the creators over at Page. Had a good time. This was in said game where I did kill Ymil playing a first edition's Dungeons & Dragons game, which is still one of the highlights of any con experience I've ever had. Tales from the Tape Deck over on Kickstarter, February 24th. So that brings us to the end of the episode, and this was another amazing episode of the Vintage RPG Podcast. Where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at vintagerpg.com. Posts last week were about vampires. This week, I think, is D&D maybe. Yeah, I've run out of miniatures to take pictures of, but I did post a whole big thing. There's like 5 of them, and I like them. They're little guys, and they're yelling.
Who doesn't like little weird guys?
Yeah, little weird guys, and they're angry and painted. Maybe they're angry that they are painted. I don't know. Who knows?
They prefer to be naked. They might have been nudist miniatures. You don't know.
Yeah, who knows what goes on in the little metal heads of miniatures. But there's lots of stuff over at vintagerpg.com. You should check it out.
Very cool. You can find me over at John McGuire RPG on Instagram. If you want to pick up any of my awesome RPGs that I've written, co-written, and had hands in working on, you can head over to hameandeggpublishing.com. It takes you to our Etsy, where we've got a lot of great zines and books for sale. And soon we're going to have some very cool fanzines up there as well. I can't really talk about it too much now, but we got some cool stuff in the works, some irons in the fire. hameandeggpublishing.com. If you like the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Your reviews really do help other listeners to find us. And if you really like the show, why not become a patron? Patreon.com/vintagerpg. We got a behind-the-scenes look at some stuff that we are getting ourselves into. We got some tiers where you could actually roll dice with us. We've got a killer Discord community that is a really true community that we built up over the last I don't know how many of your years, 6 or so years we've been on Discord. And I just want to shout out everyone because genuinely it is an oasis from the horrors of life, where we do acknowledge the horrors of life sometimes. We do it in a way where it's easy for people to talk about. But it's a great community. A lot of cool stuff happening over there. Patreon.com/vintagerpg. So for Stu Horvath, I'm John Hambone McGuire. May the dice always roll in your favor.
Thanks for listening. The Vintage RPG Podcast is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Schaefer Brown. Edited by R. Alex Murray. Check us out at vintagerpg.com.